So Rand Paul citing this statistic isn't proof of fraud, it's proof that Republicans have been manipulated and lied to by the people leading their party. But the most absurd part is when Rand Paul says this.
George, where you make a mistake is that people coming from the liberal side like you immediately say everything's a lie instead of saying there are two sides to everything. Historically, what would happen is if I said that I thought there was fraud, you would interview someone else who said there wasn't. But now you insert yourself in the middle and say the absolute fact is that everything I'm saying is a lie.
All this shows is that Rand Paul and the rest of these bad faith actors on the right clearly know how to game the refs. They know that they can hide behind this idea that there are both sides to everything. And so what you're left with, thanks to this BS notion of balance, is that one side says 1 + 1 is 2 and the other side says 1 + 1 is 27. And yet the right has just decided that because they say something, regardless of how glaringly wrong it is, that they're entitled to just as much deference because of this both-sides-ism. That's not how it works. When one side is lying, which is exactly the case with Trump's claim that he won the election, then that's it. You don't get deference, you don't get the benefit of the doubt, you don't get balance. What you get is called out for being a liar. So I understand that Rand Paul is throwing a temper tantrum because he thinks he's entitled to equity just because he's on the right, but the treatment he's getting is the treatment that he deserves. I should note too that the issue that Rand Paul is whining about not receiving adequate deference on is this idea that there was widespread fraud in the election, and so that we are crystal clear, there was not. Widespread fraud wasn't proven in any of the 65 court cases. Bill Barr and the DOJ admitted there was no widespread fraud. Chris Krebs and the DHS's cybersecurity unit said there was no widespread fraud. Republican governors and secretaries of state said there was no widespread fraud, and the recounts and audits confirmed the prior counts to within a fraction of a percent. If there was widespread fraud, we would have seen evidence, but there is no evidence. All there are allegations that were made by Trump that we knew he was going to make since before the election even took place. He told us before November 3rd that the only way he would lose is if there was fraud. And now we're supposed to believe the guy who warned us in advance that he'd cry fraud because he's crying fraud? So if Rand Paul is feeling attacked, he should, because he's not only continuing to perpetuate a baseless disinformation campaign, but a dangerous one too.